Hi, this is Melissa from Under the Radar, where we tell the stories of awesome individuals and what makes them so awesome. In my latest interview, I sat down with community organizer and influencer Ray Shackelford. We talked about how faith and his love for serving the community has allowed him to do dynamic things within the National Urban League Young Professionals and various nonprofit groups. I hope you enjoy our conversation, and to see the full interview, go to www.undertheradar.com. Peace and thank you.
Faith, family, and community.
Which is the most important of those three?
Faith.
Why faith?
That is at the core of everything I've been taught in terms of my father making me go to church at an early age. And it's helped to form a lot of my belief system overall in terms of how I do what I do.
Has there ever been a time in your career where you've had to, question your faith? Not necessarily your faith, but just had to. And what did you do in that situation?
I mean, when you're going through things, you, of course, going to question it. I think anybody who would say otherwise, that's not genuine. And I mean, at the end of the day, I leaned on my support system. There were some times where, it was real rough, but at the end of the day, I was able to see it through and, come back on a more positive side. Job, I'm in outside sales, I'm a healthcare account manager. My father used to make me do stuff as a child. I was in Boy Scouts, I'm an Eagle Scout. He put me in Boys' Rites of Passage. We used to have to go feed the homeless. So, as a child, he made me do these things. Now, when I got to college, I pretty much just wanted to go to school and have fun.
Right.
I wasn't trying to lead anything because I had been, made to be in leadership positions at the church. I just wanted to be a normal person and just exist. But what I found is that, during that period, and ultimately when I first came home, I felt like something was missing. And so once I did start to get back active again, and it was with Urban League Young Professional. My mom suggested it. This was back in April of 2009. She actually paid my membership when I first joined. And once I started to get back active in the community, I found ultimately what I was missing. And so I have been running from it. Right. But at the end of the day, that's who I am. When I first joined, I didn't really know too much about it. I had some interaction with the Urban League again, not necessarily by choice. My mother used to work at the Urban League, so she made me go to different programs and stuff. Would read pamphlets to me on hepatitis B and why you shouldn't get tattoos and stuff like that.
Wait, so what would you do as she was reading those to you?
I mean, I would listen, but you're not trying to really listen as a kid. I was just like, okay. But, so that's where the Urban League influence came from in terms of my mother. And so I started out as a member. The first committee I joined was Community Outreach, which is basically all the service projects. And I enjoyed that. Then I actually started working at the Urban League in fall of 2010 full-time and going to graduate school at night. And so
what were you going to get in grad school?
My master's in business administration, focusing on business consulting.
And where did you go to school?
To the University of Houston, Fowler College of Business for graduate school.
And where did you go undergrad?
Undergrad, I went to Morehouse College.
So then once you got your foot in, I guess that your first job with Urban League, that was your way of seeing the ins and outs, and I guess you've already seen how the outreach, saw the inside of it, so you're more intrigued?
Well, and so I think my initial exposure to the Urban League was very surface level. And so when I started working here as a case manager, doing the rental and utility assistance program, they just threw me into the fire. And so I was doing intake for 30, 40 people, low to moderate income that are trying to get rental utility assistance.
Right, so what is that, your title, what does that mean you were doing?
I was a HPRP case manager.
Okay.
But that was really a shock to my system. Because you're dealing with people that have real world problems.
Right.
And so all the things you think you know and what you've been exposed to kind of gets thrown out the window.
Okay.
Because you may try to communicate them, this is what's best for you, and this is what you need to do, but they're trying to figure out how to keep their license, how to keep the roof over there.
Right.
And so when you're trying to meet them up here, they're trying to get, foundational needs met. And so...
What was your toughest case in that role?
Toughest case? I don't know if I had a toughest one. I can tell you my first one.
Okay, what about your first one?
So after the intake, each case manager got assigned cases, people that you had to meet with one-on-one. And the very first person I met with actually started crying in my office because she didn't meet the criteria that was set forth in order to be assisted, because you had to have some type of plan to be stable after we assisted you. And she wasn't working. The way she was getting income was not something that we could track and account for. And so we couldn't help her. And she just started crying in my office. And it's one of those things where you want to help everybody, but then there's some harsh realities in terms of, dealing with grant funding criteria that people have to meet, that you have to marry the two.
Right.
And just in that case, it didn't work out. And so that was probably a real rough day for me, in addition to the first time I did intake, just because, again, you're dealing with, people that have these problems, and you want to help them, but it's like, it's nothing I can do for you in this circumstance.
Okay.
And so we did refer to some long-term assistance facilities because we weren't in a position to do that. Ours was just for 3 months. And so we're still trying to refer people through United Way, other agencies, to make sure they get help, but you're not always going to be able to help everybody.
Right. Okay, so how long were you in that role before you transitioned out?
I was in that role for a little over a year. Then I became a certified housing counselor and started assisting with the first-time home buyers classes, where you teach people how to transition from renting to actually owning a home. Also serving as like an outreach coordinator, so going out and talking to people about the urban reach programs and what they do in the community, how they're making an impact, why you should support them. And from there, I did that for about a year. I started doing relationship management, working with some of our corporate partners on those grants, especially when it came to the financial education. So a lot of the banks we worked with, also doing special projects for the CEO. And so I kind of graduated each year where, they kind of had me at the entry level starting out. But each year as I gained more of that confidence, learned more, and displayed more, it got to a point, like I said, where I was working directly with the CEO. And at that point, I graduated in December 2012. I submitted my information to be social and cultural chair. And so that was January 2013. That was my first role. Okay.
And social and cultural chair?
Social and cultural chair.
And then where'd you go from there within the organization?
So with that position, I was basically responsible for putting together the social events and also trying to tie in some type of cultural element to expose members.
Okay.
So, for example, I did a wine tasting event, but I also had Warren Luckett from Brand War Wines come in because he was a trained sommelier to actually teach people about like grapes and wine varietals and, actually have some substance behind it that gets us get together to drink wine. I think it's something where exposure enables you to get access to more things, and when you're able to speak to different experiences and have more than just a surface level understanding of things, you'd be surprised when you just start a conversation with somebody where that could lead.
Right.
You could be at a networking event, there may be wine, and you may not know that you're talking to somebody from HR, just because
your ability to speak their language.
Right, ability to connect with them. That's just another way for you to potentially position yourself for a business deal or get a job, or you never know where that will lead. And so I just think it's important to do those things, and when you travel, you get exposed to so much more and you grow from it. So ultimately, I think the goal is when people come into the Urban League is to develop leadership, to develop leaders, for people to come in, be engaged, be inspired, and find their own way to go out and make a difference because you're not going to do it the way I do it.
Right.
You're not going to do it the way Malcolm X did it, Martin Luther King, whatever the case may be. My thing, especially in the current climate, is you need to be doing something. Like it's not enough for you to go to work, go home. You need to be making an impact in some form or fashion. And so that's the end game for people to come in, get active, get involved, find your way to contribute, and to then, go out and do that. So I want to say, first of all, funny thing about me becoming president, that was never something I saw.
Oh, really?
I didn't want to be president. I've always kind of shied away from being in the
spotlight.
Because my thing is, it's not about me, it's just about the work being done. And one night, I think I was up late, upstairs working late, and Mr. Robinson, the CEO, came around and just randomly, he just said, you're going to be president one day. And this was probably, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years, about 4 years before I actually became president. And so when he said,
what were you doing at that moment? Like, did you have a role or title?
So no, I was active.
You were just a member?
Right, I was just a member at this time.
Okay.
And so it just really came out of the blue, and I was like, I don't think I want to do that. But fast forward to 2015, I also became president. When I look back on my presidency and what we accomplished, one of the biggest things was being able to elevate the image of the young professionals and just the urban league as a whole. And that was partially, a good part of that was attributed to the fact that I had an outstanding PR and marketing team.
Okay.
And so they're currently, actually from that, they actually started their own business.
Oh, really?
Fade Media.
Okay.
And so they're doing some outstanding work. But they were a huge part of our success, being able to get our messaging out, reach different people. And you really don't understand how important marketing and whatnot is until you have like a really good marketing team versus, just okay. Beyond that, we did a record amount of affiliate hours, so that was like a big push that I made. And what that means is basically projects and programming that were directly tied to the Urban League. And so as a young professional, we're basically the volunteer arm or one of the auxiliaries that supports them.
Okay.
And so the actual nonprofit is the Houston Area Urban League.
Right.
So we want to do as much as possible to tie it directly into their program. Because at the end of the day, it's about supporting them, helping them to raise money, educate people on what they're doing and why they're important.
Okay.
We also raised a little over $50,000 during my term. I was in office for a year and a half. We won Southern Region Chapter of Excellence, which is attributed to the chapter that raises the most money, does the most service hours, and overall just makes the most impact. And so that was out of about 20-something chapters in the Southern Region, which is the largest region. This was the second year that they gave that out, and it's given to someone who's gone through a Urban League development program, and they see you doing things in the community to empower people. It was something that was very unexpected. It's a very humbling experience. But yeah, that was a pretty major achievement for me.
So to achieve that kind of work, you have to put a lot of hours into Urban League, right? But you don't work for them 9 to 5 anymore, right?
No. Balance, and it's going to vary, I think, for each individual. For me, I've learned that I'm able to do a lot as long as it's something that I care about. And so, as it relates to my 9 to 5 on my job, it serves a purpose. It's a means for me to be able to live a certain way, do certain things. But it's very easy for me to make time for the Urban League and other things I do in the community because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I care about. And it's something, obviously, I'll do even if I'm not getting paid.
Right.
That's something I'm going to do either way. It's on KYND Radio.
Okay.
It's a Black-owned radio station. And they also stream us live on Facebook.
Okay.
And you can see all the past shows on the KYND page, and I'll be launching the page for my show soon. It's called Agents of Change.
And what's the purpose?
The purpose of that is to give young people a voice, millennials, but also to serve as something to spark people to action. Again, just going back to my whole personal movement about everybody has to be doing something in order for us to really make the change we're trying to, because I feel like too many of us sit on the sideline and, you know, we comment on Twitter and Facebook and we have these opinions, but if you're not doing something substantive behind that, it's ultimately falling on deaf ears.
Right. Because I mean myself, I used to be I still do post things of significance on my Instagram, but maybe like within the last year or two, I've gotten more, so I'm like one of those types of thinkers. When I see it, I was like, yeah, we can post all day about it, but what are you doing? And just individually, like, what am I doing to make a change? Because as we see every day, every month, it's going to be the same thing. So it's good, and I think it's important, and I'm glad that you have that outlet to be like, yeah, I can post and I can march, but what am I doing to change? And your show serves as that purpose, right?
Right, and it's one of those vehicles that I use now to educate people and to give them ways to actually start making a difference. And so whatever topic I'm focusing on, if it's education, if that's something of interest to you, I'm going to tell you ways to get involved in it. If it's, you know, social justice, if you look at the criminal justice system, whatever that is, not just educating you on the topic, but going to, these are some ways where you can start to get involved and make a difference now. And even when it comes to entrepreneurs, because we usually feature entrepreneurs about once a quarter, getting people to start more businesses. The largest employer of Black people is Black businesses.
Yeah.
And so I think economics is going to play a huge role in, you know, where we go from here. Just today, you know, Justin, he launched his Holly Hall Supply Company, the Kickstarter campaign. So we need more of that.
You're going to have them on Agents of Change? Well, no, I'm sorry.
Agents of Change.
Yeah, I said that right, Agents of Change.
I will have him on Agents of Change to talk to him about, you know, what sparked that. I know he was in corporate America, and so he's made that transition. And I think with our demographic, you see a lot of that because if it's not something we care about, we're not going to put a lot of energy into it. It just goes back to the whole means to an end. And so even for myself, I've done very well in corporate America, but, you know, long term, there will probably be some other things done. So I've been doing voiceovers for about 2 to 3 years, and so like last, I think September, I got introduced to Morris Parsons and Paris Ely at the Black radio station KYND, and so I was talking to them about doing voiceovers. We had a conversation about it. They said if some opportunities come about, they would let me know. Kept in contact over the next few months, and just through conversation, they decided that they wanted me to actually host a show. And from there, they gave me the opportunity. We did a test run back in February, and we officially launched it in March. And so now, every first Monday of the month from 5 to 6, I'm on the air.
Was it something that you were okay doing in the beginning? Were you excited about it, or were you apprehensive?
Honestly, I was apprehensive because, again, it wasn't something I was seeking. You know, voiceovers, I can be behind the scenes, you hear my voice, but I'm not the front man. But with this, obviously, I'm the face of it, I'm at the front of it. So yeah, I was definitely apprehensive. Because again, I've been on the radio, but that's not something I'm formally trained in, nor is it something, again, that I had on my list of things that I was trying to do. So, I mean, people tell me my voice, I have a radio voice, but... You
do? You sound like Barry White. Or what's the man, who was that? Used to be Marco Stuhl?
Yes, someone from the Quiet Storm. Yes, I know what you're talking about. I'm also on the board for the Emerging 100, which is a young professional arm of the 100 Black Men Metropolitan Houston, which is primarily a mentoring organization, but we have, you know, 5 pillars: economic development, education, health and wellness, leadership development, and mentoring.
Okay.
Beyond that, I'm also active in my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. The co-chair for the Social Action Committee as well as Scholarship Committee. on the Independent Police Oversight Board for the City of Houston.
So what do you do in that role?
So anytime there is a use of force case or an officer discharges a weapon, those cases go before a panel. And so I sit on panel A, and we review the case files as well as if there's any body-worn camera to make sure that everything was done according to the letter of the law.
You have to get selected for that, or anyone can sign up?
So you can find about that. The city has like 50, 60 some boards.
Right.
And so different ones have different requirements. For this particular one, you can apply, but you can also be appointed. I was appointed by the mayor and then confirmed by city council. And so I've also done a body-worn camera audit where I had to watch like 20 hours of body camera to see if there was any wrongdoing.
Ever catch any?
What's that again?
Any catch any wrongdoing?
We've seen some things where we've made recommendations or question things. And we elevate that up to our leadership, and then it turns to the mayor, to the police chief, and to Councilwoman Stark, who's over public safety.
But any situation with aggressive force or gun goes to this board. And what's the board called again?
Independent Police Oversight Board.
And how often do y'all meet?
Typically at least once a month. And I think, on the low side, we'll probably review like 2 cases in a month. On the high side, I think we've seen up to probably 5 or 6 cases in a month. And obviously, you want less cases. Well, it could be one of 2 things. Either there's less incidents or just less things being reported. So there's 2 ways of looking at it. But beyond that, I'm also an alumni of the Houston Black Leadership Institute, which is a program through the Greater Houston Black Chamber of Commerce specifically designed to create a black leadership pipeline. We have a lot of baby boomers that are aging out. And so the question that's always posed is who's going to take over?
Are you getting ready to go to a conference for Urban League, right?
Right.
Anything else you're doing that you in the community or want to give face to along with your radio show where we can hear every first Monday of the month?
Yes, from 5 to 6. Next show is on August the 7th, from 5 to 6. We focusing on health and wellness. Show's called Only the Fit Will Emerge. And so I'll be pushing out more details on that. There's a fitness challenge at the Emerging 100 that just started with 2 black businesses, 2 young black women. And so we'll be highlighting those businesses as well as talking about the challenge and just health and wellness overall. But yes, tomorrow I fly to St. Louis for the National Urban League Conference. I'll be running for a national office, Southern Region Vice President. And so, assuming all goes well with that, when I come back, I will have something else to do.
Yeah. So you'll find out this weekend if you won?
So we will find out Thursday. After the candidate forum, they will finish voting, and then we'll go from there.
How many other candidates are running against you?
So I'm running unopposed.
Boy.
However, there are still a certain amount of votes that you have to get in order to be
even
when you're unopposed.
Okay.
So it's not, I never take anything for granted.
Right.
Anything. So.
And how many votes is that? How many votes you have to have?
I need at least, I have to get 20 votes.
And is that by each different region? Not region, but the different auxiliaries? So
it's based on my region and the current national leadership team.
Well, I think you'll be okay. I think we're going to say you got it.
Yes, we'll speak that into existence. And once that becomes official, I will make that announcement.
In the future?
I am assessing that. There are a couple of different things I'm looking at. Just nothing to announce at this point. But I will continue to be active in the community, making a difference. And when that time comes, if that time comes, I will announce it and we'll go from there.
All right, Shaq. Thank you.
Thank you.